Good morning, YouTubers and fellow reloaders. This weekend's project is going to take some effort to take this package that I received from Brownells, which contained these 4 grip screws. And what makes these grip screws a little bit unique is the titanium nitride coating, the little gold. It looks like a dull gold that I'm going to take advantage of. The problem is, or the challenge, and thus this weekend's activity, is the standard length of this particular grip screw is a little bit longer than the thin grips that are on this particular grip. And this is how long the grip screw needs to be. So as you can see, I have some cutting to do. And a screw this size is not going to be easy to just put in the vise and Dremel. I suppose I could, but that would probably muck the threads up. And considering there's not a whole lot of threads left, I mean, let's see if you can get a close-up. There's like barely 3 threads worth of grip there. So that's a lot of thread to be removing. So what I'm planning on doing is I ventured off to our local big box shop and picked up some bar stock. And this particular sharp edge stock is 1/8 of an inch thick, 1 inch wide by 3 feet long. Obviously, I do not need this length, but they don't sell it any shorter. Or if they did, whatever was shorter was out of stock. They might have sold a 12-inch version. So what I'll probably do is, the first thing I'm going to do is punch, drill, and tap what I hope to be this particular thread size. And then I would, and as you can see, the screw is essentially the same depth. I don't know if you can see that. Same depth as the bar stock. So the idea is to, once I have a hole drilled and tapped, is to screw this in and then have the leftover sticking up and then grind that off. I think grinding would be a lot cleaner, and it would also protect the threads because the threads would be hidden, or covered rather, in here. So that's what I'm going to walk you through, and the next step is to set up out on the driveway and do some drilling and tapping. Once I've done the drill and tap, I think I'm going to leave this 18-inch bar in one piece until I have my small working section, and then I'll take a cut-off wheel and cut that, because this is uncomfortably long to deal with, so I need something a little bit shorter. All right, back on the next step. All right, so after checking my handy-dandy drill gauge, I know this is a metric thread, so it's not quite 5/32, but it's not also 9/64. So what I'm going to do is take the closest drill but I have to these two, which is actually 1/8. So I'd rather go small with the hole and then tap it so that it's larger and it fits. So that's what I'll be doing. Okay, back. Love this stuff. But what I will do is get a little bit started so I have a bigger hole to work with. Boy, that just wants to go everywhere. Something tells me this is not going to be as easy as I hope. And that would be a dead battery or dying battery. Back in a moment. Murphy's Law and mental note to self: charge batteries before project. Alright, so this is obviously going to take a while, and I might not bore you with the process, but the process is going to be the same. Continue to find hole, drill hole. Alright, so it's going to be rinse and repeat, and I'll be back when that hole is through. Alright, off tripod just because of the angle. So that's one ugly hole, and the drill kept slipping until I finally got a good bite and worked my way through, but neatness doesn't count at this point, and now it's time to tap that and see if the tap works. Back in a bit. We've been down this path before. Here's my tap. A little more cutting oil, and since I'm going to be hovering over this, I'm not going to film it, but it's essentially putting on top of the hole and twisting. And more off tripod, and there is the hole tapped. I had to remove this more than once, but we are all tapped, and now we'll take it off and see if the screw fits. So we'll call this round one. There's the tap, and I'm gonna cut with my cutting wheel right there. Back shortly. All right, now I'm gonna clean off those sharp edges on both ends with the grinder. All right, so here's the completed jig with the original screw, and as you can see, it's just shy of flush. So what I will do is take the new screws, screw them in, and start shaving down until I feel that I've got the right point, and that's just going to be trial and error, but this ensures I go no shorter than this grip screw. So back in a bit. Alright, so what I did was I put a couple of washers because I can always trim more, can't get it back, and that's kind of what it looks like. Hopefully that's in focus. So nice flush, reasonably flush, better than I could do with a Dremel, and protecting the threads, and then I'll just go washer by washer. Back for more. Alright, we have a finished product here, and I test fit that a few times, make sure there was no drag against the mag, and I had to compensate for the difference in the size of the head, so you see the slightest of gap there. In fact, let me get the others. Just 1 second, please. Alright, so here is what I started with. This is the original, and again, you can see the difference in the heads, hopefully, if that focuses. A little flatter on this one, thinner and flatter. And then now that I'm outside, this will drop and roll under the car. My two finished products, if they will play nicely together, which they won't. Suffice to say, it fits fine because it's not going to play nice in my hand, but definitely good idea to protect the threads. No way I would have been able to do that with a Dremel. All right, 3 more to go. Good evening, YouTubers and fellow reloaders. What a day it's been. I need to I need to have some tea. That's what I need to do. And what better way to have some tea than to have some Trader Joe's diabetic favorites, dark chocolate peanut butter cups. These things are the bomb. And with a little tea, oh my goodness. So, what a day it's been. For you, it's been only seconds, but for me it's been the entire day, because if you recall, I started off, and I'll give you a hint at what time it is. I started off this morning making this jig. So I made the jig, and you saw where I was with doing the first screw, and everything was cool. And what ultimately happened over time is, in hindsight, I should have made a couple of these holes, because the vibration, even though I would tighten them just because of the vibration and spinning, because of the grinding, the vibration from the grinding, expanded the holes or effed up the threads or whatever you want to call it. So this served its purpose of saving, of size rather. Served the purpose of the size that I needed, the exact size. The problem, and why we're now tonight talking about this and not earlier today, is because after I ground the first screw and put it in the grip, which I will now show a picture of right now, the grip screws and how it looks came out beautiful. But OMFG, it was a lot of work, because grinding it down, whether I use my spacers or not, allowed me to get the right size of new screw, comparable to this, with the jig. So that all was good. The not so good, and why it's tonight and not earlier today, is because from the second screw on, things were screwed up, pun intended. And that was because what happens, Johnny Be Good has his Spicy Friday, I have my Spicy Saturday. Well, what would happen is when the grinder would grind the excess down to this level, and from the second screw on, you know, so I'm going to say I got lucky with the first screw in terms of where the thread landed. Worked perfect. Second through fourth, so 3 other screws, not so perfect. So the grinding went fine, but the threading, because of the grind, wouldn't reseat into the grip screw holes. So after doing one of them by hand, and by hand I was filing and sanding and then trying to re-tap where the threads were slightly damaged by screwing it into the grip screw hole. So I thought, you know what? Too stressful for Saturday morning. Let me go to the range. So I went to the range and had an awesome afternoon. Shot nothing but 22 in the precision rifle, Ruger Precision Rimfire, and then the CZ. So it was just a great 22. Stopped by my son's, said hello. Have to recoat this every. I do that every few months. Well, in the summer it's every few weeks because the sun just beats the shit out of this on his headstone. So I will do that tonight. But I decided that I needed to come back to the screws. I couldn't finish them all off this morning because it was just getting to be not stressful, but I didn't want to rush it and I didn't want to F it up. So I thought, you know what, I'll just come back and do it later. And that's kind of what I did. So I did that off screen because nobody likes to see things screwing up. Well, maybe you do. But they're all in. Here's all the originals. The original Torquey, Hexy, whatever, which I will save. They'll go probably in this wonderful bag. And I'll seal it back off. And we'll call that a done. But they came out great. I love how they look. They're very bright because of the titanium nitride. So they came out good, and I will keep this as a 1911 grip screw jig for smaller screws. And I think I'm going to get another tap and die set that have more taps, because mine is a 40 tap set, which is SAE and metric from Harbor Freight. And this was an in-between size, so I was playing jankiness from the get-go. So I am going to recoat this tonight, and that is going to be my evening. So all worked out well, and again, as you can see from the picture, which I will flash again, we're good. So that's it for tonight. Bye, gang.